Matthew. Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain. And when he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God.
I want to remind you of a couple of days coming up. On the 18th, if you like sitting here, bring your friends. That's a Saturday. Saturday afternoon from 1 to 5, is it? 4. We are going to have an open house. Invite anybody to come and just wander through and look and see. So invite all your friends to come over here and see what this place is like. They've been looking at it. I've heard the whispers. And they come down the hill. They say, tell them they can come and see us. All right? Bring them all. About a month after that, we are having a special day that we are honoring David. And we're going to do one service that day as well. And I can't remember which day it is, the 12th of March. And so be there for that. Later on in the year, we're going to be honoring Frank. Later, and we're also going to be doing one for Dick George. We haven't set that one up. But all of these days are days where we get to celebrate again and again, because this is our 50th year. This is our jubilee, when we celebrate who we have been and prepare for who we're going to be, because how many know there's at least a little bit of work to do left? It hasn't all finished because the walls are up, has it? It hasn't all finished because we've gotten to 50 years. There's a lot still to come. And I kind of felt that this week. At the beginning of the week, I go, there's a lot still to come. Had a bit of anxiety for a lot of different reasons. We sat down early Tuesday morning, the celebration team, and we wrote 2 full services. You know why? Because we didn't know if we'd be in here or not. All right? So we had to plan the oh no service. Just in case. You guys practice all kinds of oh no songs.
Which were really good.
Yeah, they were great ones. And we don't know what's going to happen all the time, but there's a lot of times when we are doing those oh no things just in case. And one of the hardest things for me is the part that you don't see. I had to sit in my office all week long and figure out, what do I say up here? Because this is kind of the most momentous event that I've been invited to speak at. How do you make sense of all of this that's going on? How do you bring meaning to this place, to this event, to this people? And I realized that the reality is that I don't have to do it alone, because you're the ones who have already brought that meaning. You've brought your gifts. You've brought yourselves, you've brought who you are and what you've done, and all that stuff that you carry into this room. You're the ones who truly bring meaning to this place. And the words that we speak only add to that. They don't make it more. They just show some of the things that it is. Your love blessed this space long before we ever built a piece of it. Your care for others, your love in this community, and your outreach to this community made this a holy place when it was still covered with dirt. And when it got the cement and the walls, it only enhanced that love and that care. Who will lead the way? It's you, and you, and you, and every one of you, right? We don't have to worry because we have leaders in this congregation, don't we? Again and again, you've shown that, you've proven that, you've become that because you've led in the place where you're at and in the way that God is moving in you. You hear it because of Frank's preaching, because of David's singing, because of the way they live, but you hear it also because of the way God is moving in your heart. The way God has spoken and dragged you, sometimes kicking and screaming, towards doing something, being something, becoming something. And we all need to remember that presence of God on a regular basis. That's why we come into a space like this, right? Because sometimes we forget, don't we? And it's not because we mean to, it's because there's a lot of stuff that makes it really hard to remember. A lot of stuff out there that says other things. We come here to rest, to remember. On Wednesday, this Wednesday when everything was I thought, going well. We were getting ready to pave the parking lot, and all of a sudden everything just stopped. And I looked at Melissa. You know, she's getting ready to get the bulletins ready. She's done 2 full bulletins. She's doing lots of work. And I said, why aren't they working out there? Because that paving machine that was making it so that there's nice parking lots out there, it blew up. Big fire going on. They had to wait for the new line to come in. It's like, no, we can't have that. That never happens in your life, does it? Something blows up, and you got to figure out what's next. And nice thing that Mike Scarborough is here. I'm sorry that you guys couldn't meet him today because he has been a solid rock. He's an amazing man. And if Mike Exton's still here, Mike, you make sure you hear because we love what Mike has done. Both Mikes have just been incredible. But somehow he got it back online. And that's what it takes, is in each moment, somebody stepping in and saying, fix this paving machine. Or doing the work to make that paving machine work. Every single one of us have something that we can do in this place. And you have to use that to help each other to get past what today isn't perfect. My wife gave me a book by a couple of pretty good thinkers. It's called The Book of Joy by the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. Have you heard that? I'm just starting into this book, and he tells a story where Desmond Tutu looks at the Dalai Lama and says, how have you done it? You know, he's been in exile virtually my entire life. Went in exile in 1959. How do you do it? And he asked this question, he used a strange word. How do you keep from being morose? And the Dalai Lama didn't know what that word was. Right? And he rehearsed some of the history back to him and said, this is what kind of has happened. But then he said this. Said I learned it from an ancient Indian teacher. He taught that when you experience some tragic situation, think about it. If there's no way to overcome the tragedy, then there is no use worrying about it too much. And that's a saying that comes from the 8th century Buddhist master named Shantideva. And his saying was, if something can be done about the situation, if something can be done about the situation, what need is there for dejection? If nothing can be done about it, what use is there for being dejected? There's a lot we can do. There's a lot we can't do. But sometimes we let what we can't do get in the way of what we can do. We have to look and we have to say, here's something I can do. And every single one of us, from the oldest to the youngest, all those kids, they are going to make a difference in some way that you can't. But we need to empower them. Maybe that's your call, is to make it so that they can do something wonderful. Maybe your job is not to build the building, but to fill it with music. Each of us plays a role, and each of us needs to play that role completely and faithfully. And those two great leaders, as they started out, they took each other's hands. And the Dalai Lama looked at Desmond Tutu and said, I know you'd like to pray to start. Will you pray for me, for us? And the first three words out of Desmond Tutu's mouth was, Come, Holy Spirit. And he finished up, and it's it's an amazing prayer, but it says, Fill the hearts of your faithful, and kindle in us the fire of your love. Isn't that what we need to pray for each other on a regular basis? Come, Holy Spirit, fill the hearts of your faithful, and kindle in us the fire of your love. We need to pray that for ourselves, for each other, and for this world. We need to figure out in that type of prayer how to return to the presence of God. Especially when whatever it is, whatever is against us, whatever is facing us, whatever obstacle is there, makes it so that this moment doesn't feel like the presence of God. And it's not about doing the right thing, it's about relationship and coming to that space again that is the true space of God. Renewing the covenant means returning to the presence. And that's what we get a chance to do today. To remember who we are, remember the relationship that we have with God individually and collectively. You know, we've been following Dr. Spong's book. And in that book, he's looking at the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, where he goes and sits on a mount, probably not a really high mount. And all the people sat below him, and he spoke to them. But it was in order to recall another story of a mount. Remember that Matthew is trying to remind the people in his day that Jesus represents the same type of presence as Moses did. And Moses went up to the mount and he received on this day, this Shabbat day, the Torah. God speaking into the world, but not just speaking rules. It wasn't just a do or don't do. We sometimes think that what he got were the two tablets. Those do-nots and do's things. And you know why we like 10 Commandments? I told you why we like 10 Commandments? Because as a general rule, we like having checklists. And we can usually, most of us, check most of them off, can't we? I didn't do that, didn't do that. I got 9 out of 10 of them right. But that day on that mountain Sinai, and also that day, the mountain where Jesus spoke, and this day on this mountain is not about the checklist of what's right or wrong. It's about the relationship. It's about the fact that on that mountain Moses sat with God and invited the children of Israel with him. That Jesus sat with God and invited the people of his day to come and be with God. And that's the invitation for all of us as well, isn't it? To come and be in the presence of God. And to be there even when we have to go into that scary thing called wilderness. That place we don't understand. The place that seems threatening to us. That place that we love to push away from or run back away from. And we're tempted to go on easy routes. But this is where it takes courage. And it takes community. Rest for a second. And feel the hearts beating around you. Feel the strength of those hearts. Not just the one who's sitting beside you, but the one who sat in this space 10 years ago, and 20 years ago, and 30 and 40 and 50 years ago. Feel all those hearts beating. And as you look at the obstacle, the challenge, the call in front of you, find strength in them. You know, some of the people didn't want to go up on Sinai. You know why? Because it was billowing smoke and fire. Sometimes meeting God is challenging that way. And how many in those words by Matthew find some comfort, but aren't quite sure you like all the things? Like there's that one that's called, "Blessed are the persecuted." How many like being that? Me neither. But why are you persecuted? Sometimes because you're doing the right thing. And someone around you looks and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" Frank, did they ever, in those first years, did anybody ever look at you and say, "What the?" Because you helped us to see a different dream of what could be. And you didn't sit in that easy mode. You listened to how God was calling us. And as we stepped into those reconciling places where so many people said, "No, we can't go that way. You're not supposed to. That's not what Christian people do." Thank you for hearing that voice. Thank you to all of you for having the courage to step into those Mount Sinai places that got you persecuted some. Got you in places where you needed to both receive and give mercy. He didn't give them easy solutions when he sat on that mount, did he? And I would like to say that I could give you easy solutions today, but there's a lot of work to be done outside these walls. And we could sit here, couldn't we, and be comfortable and happy, but that's not what this church is about. Never has been, and I hope never will be. We choose to sit here so that we can be empowered and strengthened to do something out there. We choose to sit here and find how to become something more, to hear the voices and become the voices. To look into this world and make sure that when we see someone alone, we sit with them. When we see someone who is hurt, we take care of them. When we see somebody that has need, we feel that need. And there's a lot of need. Dottie will tell you a story, for example, about the Inn Project, and tell that story so wonderfully about that one lady who had come walking from Guatemala. She just needed rest. And sometimes our call is to rest with them, or to give them a space where they don't have to worry and we can care for their children for a couple minutes. Our job is to find all those things to do so that we become the voice of God, the hands and feet of God, the presence of God in all those places. Yesterday I was here at 7 o'clock in the morning. Got here just before Annie. Before her at the end of the day, though. But it was a great day, because before 8 o'clock, let me just tell you some of the things that were going on. We already had people putting in these screens. We had people putting up the trees back there. Isn't that a great look back there? Looking right through the forest. We had people up placing all the plants around the building. All kinds of stuff out there. And let me tell you, one of the people who did that was Francisco's son. Francisco was here doing that. And one of his sons is Daniel. And Daniel is in the hospital right now. He went for a test last night. They knew they were going to do that. And so just keep Francisco and his family in prayer. But there was all of that was going on to get this building ready. And we had all the people who came in to practice this and do that. And most of that was happening before 8 o'clock in the morning. But here's what really struck me. It was even better than that. No matter what was going on here, let me tell you what wasn't going on here. Out in the front parking lot, there was produce on wheels. All right? And I got to tell you, you think that you're the first ones to fill up this parking lot. That's just not true. Produce on wheels filled it up yesterday. Because there were so many people that came here to receive that produce. And I love that that filled up the parking lot long before we decided to get together to party. They filled it up because you decided to get together and give. And over in another part of the campus, over in that old center, you might remember it, they were doing mindfulness meditation. And this place was busy. This place was full. This place was full not just of people, but of spirit, and of doing, and of becoming. That's a dream come true for any pastor. Keep doing that. Keep becoming all those things. Do not let what we've done in this place be the end. If this is only a resting place for us, we have failed. This must become our launching pad to the future, to everything that we need to be. I think there's three things. If I look at covenant, Moses went up on Sinai to receive a covenant. And Jesus went on that sermon on the Mount space to receive a covenant, to speak a covenant. So let me speak what I think our covenant is as a people. Can I tell you? And when I say covenant, I don't mean promise, I don't mean contract, I mean relationship. What is it that we are as a people right here in this space? Do you want me to tell you what I think it is? First of all, we choose to care about and support each other and them, whoever they are beyond these walls. That's an amazing thing, isn't it? We look at each other and we say, I see the light of God in you. Not just here, but out there. And we say that again and again. We speak that because there's a lot of people who don't hear that. That's an amazing covenant. To say that to people who have been rejected. To say that to people who don't understand how they could be accepted. And to say, I see God's light there, is such a gift. Second of all, I think we choose to be active in issues. All kinds of issues. We don't just sit here and support each other, or even just say, you're okay. We take care of things to help them be okay. We look at where people are hungry and we feed them. That's a great covenant. We look where people are lonely and we sit with them. That's an amazing gift that we have taken on for the world. Don't ever stop that. But I think the third thing we do is the most important, because the other two have to flow out of this place. We choose to love. St. Francis, thank you for being people of love, for showing again and again that somebody is loved even when they don't feel it themselves, for loving a pastor when a pastor doesn't quite do it right. Or you don't quite get their theology, for loving someone, whoever they are. How many felt that love coming here? How many needed that love coming here? Continue to choose love, because there's a lot of people out there that need to feel that same thing. Choose to love today, tomorrow, and every single day. So we've planted some good flowers, haven't we? Hoping they'll grow. Working on them so they will grow. We've built an impossible dream in this building. But now we have to help that growing to happen. And we have to gather those flowers when they do grow. And we have to share those flowers. Our work has just begun. The beginning of that story of the of the Sermon on the Mount, it says a remarkable thing. It says that Jesus saw the crowds, and he went to the top of the mountain and he sat down. Now that was the tradition at the time, is that the preacher would sit down. We're a little too restless, a little too ADHD today. But I think there's a more important reason why I want you to hear those words, that Jesus sat down. Because I want you to look at this table. And you know, this table is the table I've sat around every week over in the San Francisco room. Right? It's the office table over there. It's the biggest table we have on campus. And I thought, that'll be great. We'll all sit around that table. And it got over here, it's kind of a tiny table. Compared to how many people have to sit around it. And it's the space, all of a sudden, it's so much smaller than, and I go, oh my gosh. But then I remembered an amazing place that I went to just a couple months ago. It's this event that happened here in Tucson, just south of downtown, called Noche en Blanco. And some of you went to that. And you know what happened? Is they just picked a spot, and they sealed off several blocks, and everyone came, and we ate together. But everyone had to bring their own table. That's what it looked like. Look at that. Isn't that an amazing space? They all brought table. They all brought some food. They brought the chairs. They all came together, and when there wasn't enough space, guess what they did? They added another table. That's our job. Because if we're all trying to crowd around this table, we won't fit. We'll be trying to elbow people out. But if we decide, how do we open that table to Josh? How do we give him a space? Then we'll add another table. And not the kids' table. Right? A table where they are fully, completely welcome, every single person. And we'll add another, and another, and another. And every one of these tables will become like that. That, to me, is something of what I think Jesus meant when he looked at and saw something of God, the dream of God for this world. Where there was always a space in the community. But it takes opening up again and again and placing more tables. It takes a lot of work from a lot of people. So who are you inviting? Not necessarily here, but to God's table. How is it that you're going to make a space for someone? Like the space we're going to make for our kids, because you may not have space in your row any longer. But we got space up here. Come on in, guys. We provide a space here for every single one of these kids and every single other kid that needs to be here. We provide a space for every elderly person and every elderly person that needs to be here. We provide a space for all of the teens that are lost or lonely in whatever way and need to find a space. We provide a space, the Inn Project, for people who need a space, need love, need rest. We provide space again and again. We choose to provide that space. We set up another table. So today I got a little bit of bread for us. Just a little. And you know why I got so much? Is because I want you to remember that there's always enough. So you take a big piece if you need it. And you take a great big piece and bring it to somebody else today. Because how many know at least somebody who's hungry? Maybe hungry for bread. Maybe hungry for presents.